to offer the private sector and other stakeholders good investments.
I think the role of technology is key.
Really understanding what works and what doesn't work.
This region has the opportunity to shine a beacon of light across the world.
Ayan, I think I'll begin with you. And just looking at this whole world, the challenge that we face, what plans are in place for the Green Climate Fund to actually catalyze investments to scale? Take us through what you're doing and what could make a difference for Africa.
The Green Climate Fund is actually the largest fund dedicated to climate change, and at this particular point we have approved almost 5 billion USD to developing countries to support them in fast track developing countries towards low carbon and climate resilient development.
Thank you so much for that. Miko, let me come to you next. And I think the Adaptation Fund has been in existence for 10 years now. So maybe take us through the lessons you've learned in supporting green growth and what can Africa adapt and adopt from that?
So as we continue to see increasing climate impacts, the importance of sharing knowledge and developing partnerships to foster climate change adaptation and sustainable development tools and green growth is crucial for Africa, but it's also for the rest of the world. Well, understanding the needs is one of the really key issues, and that's why the projects really need to be based on the needs of course, of the country.
Okay, understanding the needs.
But also of the communities. And then really understanding what works and what doesn't work.
Again, shifting slightly, and I'm going to give you each the same question. Gerd, I'll start with you. What needs to change in the finance landscape? What's the one thing for you that needs to completely shift to encourage green growth? If you were to point your finger at one thing, one issue, what would that be?
The biggest challenge which we have is to offer the private sector and other stakeholders good investments so that we can showcase that investments in the green economy are not only investments which are good for society, but they are also investments good for a company. And I think that is one of the major challenges.
Let's take a chance, let's make some strategic bets, and let's see what we can achieve, both in terms of returns as well as impact, to really making that difference.
But we need to really do new things, new innovations that have not been tested before. That involves risks.
Okay.
And then how to create the opportunities for taking that risk in the scope of climate action.
Thank you so much. Ayan?
I think the role of technology is key.
Amal, you have the final word.
It is incredibly hard to run a business anywhere in the world. It's a huge challenge, and I think we mustn't underestimate how difficult that challenge is. The private sector can't go everywhere and shouldn't go everywhere because in some places markets don't work. But I think we do have this promise of getting it right now, and I think where we are today, this region has the opportunity to shine a beacon of light across the world about what could happen in this context, and I'm personally very excited.
New financial paradigms of financing that we basically rely on private sector and as a main source of funding. And so we have platforms where a number of stakeholders collaborate, but the end activities under these platforms will be implemented by the various entities, and any funds which are received by the organization will be passed on to these organizations, which is a process, if you wish, of empowerment.
I think energy is important because it's a backbone of many things. You need energy for you to cut your hair, you need energy to extract water, you need energy to irrigate your agriculture. So in the context of Africa, which is on a development path, energy becomes important.
We should not forget that when we're talking about climate resilient, there are a lot of people also on this continent that live in the most vulnerable communities, but it's going to take some time, and just to remind that there is still a need for grant-based financing for these types of challenges that we are seeing.
Thank you. I couldn't think of a better way to end this panel. Can we give all the panelists a round of applause? And thank you so much to all who contributed from the floor. Ladies and gentlemen,